Before we begin, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back. Tell me where in the world you are. Now let's dive into the story. I found the letters on a Tuesday. 20 years of dust covering 20 years of lies. My hand shook as I pulled the shoebox from the back of Marcus's closet, the one he told me held old tax papers. But tax papers don't smell like perfume. They don't have lipstick stains on the corners. And they damn sure don't have your best friend's handwriting all over them. Cherise, my girl since we were 16, the woman who held my hand through labor, the one who braided my daughter's hair every Sunday. Her words were right there in purple ink, talking about how good my husband felt inside her, how they'd meet at the Riverside Motel every Thursday while I thought he was working late. The dates went back 2 decades. I read one letter, then another, then I couldn't stop. My stomach turned itself inside out, and I had to grip the doorframe to keep from falling. The worst part wasn't what they did. It was how long they smiled in my face after. How many dinners, how many Christmases, how many times did she hug me knowing she'd been with him? Marcus walked in while I was still on the floor, letters scattered around me like evidence at a crime scene. His face went from confused to terrified in 2 seconds flat. He didn't even try to lie. Just stood there with his mouth open looking at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something at his head. But instead, I just stared at him. This man I'd given 35 years to and felt absolutely nothing. That scared me more than the anger would have. He started talking, words spilling out fast and desperate. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. Cherise came on to him. He was weak. He was sorry, but I wasn't listening anymore. I was thinking about every Thursday for the past 20 years. Every lie. Every time he came home and climbed into bed next to me with her still on his skin. My phone buzzed. A text from Cherise. Lunch tomorrow? Miss you, sis? I showed Marcus the screen. He actually had the nerve to look relieved, like maybe I didn't know it was her, like maybe I'd only found some random woman's letters. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with all the lights off, watching Marcus's silhouette in our bedroom doorway. He kept trying to talk to me, but I had nothing to say. Not yet. My mind was spinning through every memory, repainting it with this new truth. That time, Cherise stayed with us for 2 weeks when her apartment flooded. Were they fucking under my roof? That vacation to Myrtle Beach where Marcus said he had to work the middle weekend so Cherise kept me company. Were they laughing at me? Every smile felt like a slap now. Every hug felt like a blade. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to give either of them the satisfaction of seeing me break. I got up, made coffee like it was any other Wednesday, and started packing Marcus's shot. He came downstairs looking like he hadn't slept either. Good. I wanted him to suffer. I wanted him to feel even a fraction of what was tearing through my chest. The doorbell rang at 9 a.m. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a second I thought maybe Cherise had the audacity to show up. But when I opened the door, it was her brother, Dion, standing there with flowers and a smile that died the second he saw my face. Dion. Tall, fine, successful Dion, who'd been single for years and always treated me with respect. Marcus never managed. He moved back to Atlanta 6 months ago after his wife passed from cancer. He'd been coming around more, helping fix things around the house, taking me to lunch when Marcus was working late. Now those lunches felt different. Now everything felt different. He took one look at the suitcases by the stairs and asked what happened. I should have lied. Should have said everything was fine. But I was so tired of protecting people who didn't protect me. So I told him everything, watched his face go from concerned to furious, watched his hands ball into fists. And when he asked me what I needed, I realized something that should have terrified me but didn't. Dion had been looking at me different for months now, and I've been looking back. 20 years earlier, everything was different. I met Cherise in 1985 at a house party in West End. She had her hair in finger waves and wore this electric blue dress that made everyone stop and stare. I was there with my cousin, trying not to look uncomfortable in heels I'd borrowed. Cherise walked straight up to me, complimented my earrings, and we talked for 3 hours straight like we'd known each other forever. She was bold where I was careful, loud where I was quiet. She made me feel brave just standing next to her. Within a month, we were inseparable. She'd sleep over at my mama's house on weekends. We'd do each other's hair and talk about the men we'd marry and the lives we'd build. When I met Marcus at her cousin's barbecue that summer, she was the first person I told. She screamed so loud the whole block heard it, said he was fine and I better lock him down before someone else did. I should have asked who she had in mind. Marcus was everything back then. Smooth, dark skin, a smile that made my knees weak, and a job at the post office that meant stability. My mama loved him. My daddy gave him respect. And Cherise, she was right there through the whole courtship, giving me advice on what to wear, how to act, when to make him wait, and when to give in. She was my maid of honor at the wedding, caught my bouquet and joked about being next. I remember thinking how perfect everything was. My best friend and my husband got along. Great, too great, but I was too in love to notice. They'd talk and laugh like they'd known each other forever. Sometimes I'd walk into a room and they'd get quiet, but Cherise would just smile and change the subject. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. The second was believing Marcus when he said he'd never betray me. We had our first daughter, Aria, in 1988. Cherise was in the delivery room, holding my hand while Marcus stood in the corner looking like he might pass out. She was there for the midnight feedings, the first steps, the terrible twos. She was family. When her brother, Dion, came back from the military in 1990, we all got even closer. Dion was quiet where Cherise was loud, thoughtful where she was impulsive. He had these dark eyes that seemed to see right through people and a gentleness that made you feel safe. He met a woman named Nicole at church and married her quick. We all celebrated together. Holidays became this big blended family thing. Cherise, Dion, Nicole, Marcus, me, and eventually our 3 kids. We barbecued every 4th of July, played spades until midnight, took group vacations to Six Flags in Savannah. Looking back now, I can see the signs I missed, the way Marcus's eyes followed Cherise across rooms, the way she'd touch his arm when she laughed, the inside jokes that I wasn't inside of. It started in 1995. At least that's what the letter said. A Thursday in March, when I took Aria to a doctor's appointment and left the younger kids with my mama. Marcus got off work early. Cherise stopped by to drop off a casserole dish she borrowed. That's all it took. One opportunity, one moment of weakness, or maybe it wasn't weakness at all. Maybe they'd been waiting for the chance. The letters didn't say how it started, but they detailed how it continued. Every Thursday became their day, sometimes at the motel, sometimes in his truck. Once, according to a letter from 1998, in our garage while I was inside cooking dinner. The betrayal had layers. It wasn't just sex. They had conversations, made plans, talked about what their life would be like if things were different. Cherise wrote about feeling guilty, but not guilty enough to stop. Marcus must have kept every letter she ever gave him, hiding them like treasures instead of evidence. That told me something. This wasn't just an affair. This was something he valued. Through all of it, I had no idea. I threw Cherise a surprise party for her 30th birthday. She threw me one for my 35th. We took aerobics classes together, started a book club. She was there when my daddy died, holding me while I cried. I was there when she lost her job, helping her update her resume. We were sisters. That's what I thought. That's what I believed with everything in me. And the whole time, every single day, she was sleeping with my husband, looking me in my eyes, eating at my table, playing with my children. How do you do that? How do you betray someone so completely and still smile like everything's fine? I think that's what hurt most. Not the sex, not even the lies. But the fact that she could hug me, call me her best friend, and feel nothing, no guilt strong enough to stop, no love real enough to matter. The affair had a rhythm I never noticed. Every Thursday, Marcus came home late, smelling like Irish Spring instead of his usual dial. He'd shower before dinner, saying the post office got hot, saying he needed to wash the day off. I'd have his plate ready, and he'd eat while watching the news, barely saying a word. I thought he was tired. Thought the job was stressing him out. Never once considered he was quiet because he just left another woman's bed. Cherise would call me on Thursday nights like clockwork. Around 8, right after Marcus finished eating. She'd talk about her day, ask about mine, laugh at something her neighbor did, normal best friend stuff. Now I realize she was checking, making sure I didn't suspect, making sure Marcus got home safe. They had it down to a science. Every Thursday for 20 years, I found a motel receipt in one of the letters. Riverside Motel on Bolton Road, the place with the flickering neon sign and hourly rates. I drove past it once a week for 2 decades and never thought twice about it. Now I couldn't stop thinking about it, about Marcus's truck parked in that lot every Thursday, about him walking into room 12 where Cherise was waiting. The letter that mentioned the room number was dated 2003. That meant they had a regular room. The clerk probably knew them, maybe gave them a discount, maybe saw me somewhere and knew exactly who I was. That thought made my skin crawl. How many people knew? How many people saw them together and said nothing? How many times did someone recognize Marcus and Cherise and wonder about the woman at home? I started paying attention to Thursdays in my memory, really paying attention. In 1997, I planned a surprise birthday party for Marcus on a Thursday. He acted annoyed, said he was tired, said he just wanted a quiet evening. I felt bad for not checking with him first. Now I knew better. He was mad because I'd ruined his schedule, interrupted his routine with Cherise. In 2001, my mama had a heart scare on a Thursday afternoon. I called Marcus crying, begging him to come home. He didn't answer his phone for 3 hours. When he finally called back, he said he'd been in a meeting. The post office doesn't have meetings. In 2008, our daughter Aria got engaged on a Thursday evening. She called Marcus first, so excited she could barely talk. He didn't answer. Called her back an hour later, sounding distracted. She told me she felt like he didn't care about her engagement. I made excuses for him. Said he was probably driving, probably couldn't get to his phone. I was always making excuses. Cherise had her own patterns, too. She never came around on Thursdays, not once in 20 years. She'd make plans for Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, any day but Thursday. When I suggested Thursday dinners or Thursday shopping trips, something always came up. Her mama needed help. She had a work thing. She wasn't feeling well. I never questioned it, never pushed, just adjusted my schedule around hers like a good friend does. She played me so perfectly, knew exactly what to say to keep me comfortable, knew how to make me feel special while she destroyed me. The letter showed she was smart about it, strategic. She'd write to Marcus about how I almost figured something out, how she had to redirect my attention. Like it was a game, like I was a puzzle to solve instead of a person to respect. The worst Thursday was in 2012. Our son Jaden graduated high school that week, and I wanted to do something special. I planned a family dinner for Thursday night, sent out invitations, made a reservation at his favorite restaurant. Marcus tried to cancel, said work was slammed, said he couldn't get the time off. I put my foot down, told him his son's graduation only happens once. He showed up angry, barely spoke through dinner, left early claiming a headache. Cherise came to the graduation ceremony but skipped the dinner, said she had food poisoning. I felt so bad for her, texted her the whole next day making sure she was okay. She played that role perfectly. Probably spent Thursday evening with Marcus while he complained about missing their time together. I fed her soup that Friday, sat with her while she pretended to be sick, and she looked me right in my face and thanked me for being such a good friend. Dion came back to Atlanta in late 2014, a few months after Nicole died from breast cancer. He'd nursed her through 2 years of treatments, and you could see it had changed him. He was quieter than before, moved slower, had these sad eyes that made you want to hug him. Cherise threw him a welcome home dinner at her place. Marcus and I brought the kids. It was good seeing him again. He'd filled out, grown a beard, had gray in his hair now, still handsome but in a weathered way. He hugged me at the door and held on a second longer than necessary. I thought he was just grieving, just needed comfort. Looking back, maybe he saw something in me too. Some loneliness I didn't know I was carrying. He started coming around more after that, would stop by to fix things Marcus never got around to. The leaky faucet in the kitchen, the loose railing on the porch, the cabinet door that wouldn't close right. Marcus always said he'd handle it, then forgot. Dion just showed up with his tools and did it. He was good with his hands, patient, explained what he was doing like it mattered that I understood. We'd talk while he worked about Nicole, about how much he missed her, about what it felt like to lose someone and still have to wake up every morning. I told him about my daddy, about how grief sneaks up on you in random moments. We had that in common, that understanding of loss. It made conversations feel safe, like I could say anything and he'd get it. Marcus didn't like Dion being around so much. He'd make comments about it, ask why Dion was always here, suggest that maybe Dion should hire a handyman for his own place instead of playing fix-it at ours. I thought he was being territorial. Typical man stuff. Now I realize he was nervous, probably worried Dion would see something, notice something. The irony is thick. Marcus was fucking Dion's sister for 2 decades, but got mad when Dion helped me fix a sink. That's the kind of twisted logic cheaters have. Rules for everyone else. Exemptions for themselves. Cherise didn't say much about Dion's visits either. Just made little jokes about him having a crush on me. I'd laugh it off. Tell her to stop, but sometimes I'd catch myself wondering. By 2015, Dion and I were having lunch once a month. Nothing romantic. Just 2 people who understood each other, grabbing sandwiches and talking about life. He told me about his job at the engineering firm, about how different Atlanta was from when he left, about considering moving back to Virginia where Nicole's family lived. I told him he should stay, that Atlanta was home, that we'd miss him if he left. I meant it. His presence had become something I looked forward to, a brightness in routines that had gotten stale. Marcus worked late constantly now, not just Thursdays anymore. The kids were grown, doing their own thing. The house felt empty most days, but when Dion came by, it felt full again. Felt like someone actually saw me. Nothing happened between us. I need to be clear about that. Nothing physical, nothing inappropriate, but there was something there, some awareness that grew every time we were in the same room, the way he'd look at me when he thought I wasn't watching, the way my heart would speed up when I heard his truck in the driveway, the way conversations would stretch longer than they needed to. We never crossed the line, never even talked about crossing a line, but the possibility lived between us, quiet and patient, waiting. I felt guilty about it sometimes, about the fact that being around Dion made me happy in ways Marcus didn't anymore, about noticing how different they were, how Dion listened when I talked, how he remembered small things I mentioned, how he made me feel important. But I told myself, feeling wasn't acting, told myself I was still a good wife, still loyal, still honoring my vows, even while my husband and best friend were doing everything but. I confronted Cherise 3 days after finding the letters, told her I needed to talk, asked her to meet me at Piedmont Park, somewhere public where I wouldn't lose my mind completely. She showed up in a yellow sundress, looking happy and clueless, hugged me like always, asked what was wrong. I handed her the letters, watched her face drain of color, watched her mouth open and close without sound. She tried to deny it at first, said those letters were old, said it was over, said it didn't mean anything, but I wasn't stupid. The most recent letter was dated 6 months ago. She'd written to Marcus about missing him, about their last time together, about how she wished things could be different. 6 months, not 20 years ago. 6 months. She started crying. Big dramatic tears like she was the victim here, talking about how it just happened, how they didn't mean to hurt me, how she'd been trying to end it for years, years. Like that made it better. Like struggling to stop betraying me for years deserved sympathy. I stood there watching her perform, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just this cold, empty space where my best friend used to be. She reached for my hand. I pulled back, asked her how she did it, how she looked me in my face every day, how she slept at night. She didn't have an answer, just kept crying and saying she was sorry. Sorry, sorry, sorry. The word meant nothing. You can't apologize for 20 years of betrayal. You can't sorry your way out of destroying someone's whole life. People walked past us in the park, joggers, families with strollers, teenagers on bikes, normal people living normal lives while mine imploded. Cherise tried to explain. Said it started as a mistake. Said Marcus pursued her. Said she was weak. Said she tried to stop but couldn't. I asked if she thought about me, even once. She nodded, still crying, saying she thought about me all the time, that she hated herself, that she knew she was a terrible person, but she kept doing it anyway. That's what I couldn't understand. How you can know you're destroying someone and continue, how you can claim to love someone and betray them daily. The math didn't work. The logic was broken. She was broken. They both were. I asked about Dion, asked if he knew. Her face told me everything he didn't know. Had no idea his sister and his friend's husband had been carrying on for 2 decades. That brought me some small comfort. At least there was one person in this mess who was innocent. One person who wasn't lying to me. Cherise begged me not to tell him, said it would destroy him, said he'd just lost Nicole and couldn't handle more pain. I almost laughed. She cared about her brother's feelings, but not mine. Cared about protecting him, but not me. The audacity was stunning. I told her I'd tell whoever I wanted, that she lost the right to ask me for anything, that she needed to stay away from me, my family, my house, my life. She grabbed my arm. I yanked it away. Told her if she ever touched me again, I'd forget we were in public. She asked about Marcus, asked if I was leaving him. I said that was none of her business anymore. But the truth was, I didn't know. Part of me wanted to leave, wanted to pack up and start fresh somewhere he'd never find me. But another part, a bigger part, wanted to stay and make him suffer. Wanted him to see me moving on, wanted him to watch me be happy without him. Cherise said they'd ended things, that it was over for good now, that she'd never contact him again. I asked how many times she'd told herself that over 20 years, how many times she'd decided to end it, then changed her mind. She went quiet. We both knew the truth. If I hadn't found those letters, they'd still be at the Riverside Motel every Thursday, still smiling in my face on Fridays, still acting like family at holidays. The only reason it was ending now is because they got caught. Marcus became a stranger in his own house. I made him sleep in the guest room, changed the locks on our bedroom door, started looking at him like he was something dirty I'd stepped in. He tried everything to win me back. Flowers every day, love notes on the counter, breakfast in bed that I wouldn't touch. He'd stand outside the bedroom door at night, apologizing through the wood, begging for another chance, promising he'd change, swearing it would never happen again. His voice would crack and break, and I felt nothing. That scared him more than my anger would have. He knew he'd killed something in me, something that couldn't be resurrected with roses and sorry. He tried to blame Cherise, said she seduced him, said she came onto him and he was weak, said she threatened to tell me if he didn't keep it going. I asked for proof. He had none, just accusations designed to make him look less guilty, like he was a victim of her manipulation instead of an active participant. The letters proved otherwise. His handwriting was on some of them too. Short notes about when and where to meet, about how much he wanted her, about how good she made him feel. No coercion there, just choice. He chose her over me. Every Thursday for 20 years. I made sure he knew I'd read every word, watched him crumble under the weight of his own evidence. Our kids knew something was wrong. Aria called, asking why Dad was sleeping in the guest room, why I wasn't answering his calls when he tried me from work, why the air felt different when she visited. I didn't tell her. Not yet. Didn't want to destroy her image of her father until I figured out my next move. Jaden noticed too, asked if we were getting divorced. I told him we were working through some things. He didn't push. Our youngest, Simone, came by with her boyfriend and sensed the tension immediately, pulled me aside and asked if I was safe. If Marcus had hurt me, I said yes, but not in the way she was thinking. She asked if he cheated. I nodded, watched her face harden. She said I should leave him, that I deserved better, that she'd help me pack. I loved her for that, for the instant loyalty, for not making excuses for him. Marcus tried to involve our pastor, called and asked for marriage counseling. Pastor Reynolds came by on a Saturday morning, sat in our living room, looking uncomfortable while Marcus explained we were having problems. I waited until Marcus finished his sanitized version of events. Then I pulled out the letters, let Pastor Reynolds read a few, watched his face shift from concerned to horrified. He asked Marcus if it was true. Marcus couldn't even look at him, just nodded and stared at the floor. Pastor Reynolds turned to me, asked what I needed from him. I said nothing, that this was beyond counseling, beyond prayer, beyond any quick fix Marcus thought he could manipulate. The pastor agreed, told Marcus he needed to give me space, told him he'd sinned grievously and needed to accept consequences. Marcus looked betrayed, like the pastor was supposed to be on his side. Dion stopped by the next evening. Marcus was at work. Dion's face was stone. He knew. Cherise had told him everything. He apologized, said he was ashamed of his sister, that he never would have brought her around if he'd known. I told him it wasn't his fault, that he had nothing to apologize for. We sat on the porch drinking sweet tea while the sun set. He asked if I was okay. Really okay. I lied and said yes. He didn't believe me. Saw right through it, said I didn't have to be strong all the time, that it was okay to fall apart. Something about his voice, his words, the gentleness, it broke me. I cried for the first time since finding the letters. Hard, ugly crying that shook my whole body. Dion held me, didn't say anything. Just let me fall apart on his shoulder while the neighborhood went about its evening. When I finally stopped, he said something I'll never forget. You deserve someone who sees your worth, who protects your peace, who wouldn't risk losing you for anything. I knew he wasn't just talking about Marcus. I filed for divorce on a Wednesday, not Thursday. Didn't want to give that day any more power over my life. Marcus came home to papers on the kitchen table. His face went from confused to panicked in seconds. He tried to talk. I held up my hand, told him there was nothing to discuss, that lawyers would handle everything, that he had 30 days to find a new place to live. He fell apart, actually dropped to his knees on the kitchen floor, begging me to reconsider, saying he'd do anything. I stepped around him and went to bed, locked the door behind me, listened to him cry on the other side. Felt nothing but relief. The divorce wasn't contested. Marcus knew better than to fight me. He'd been caught red-handed with evidence he couldn't deny. His lawyer advised him to settle quickly and generously. I got the house, got half his pension, got the car I wanted. He moved into an apartment in Buckhead. Small, sad. The kind of place divorced men go to realize what they lost. Our kids took my side. Aria stopped speaking to him entirely. Jaden gave him cold, one-word answers when Marcus called. Simone told him he was dead to her. That was hard on him. He'd always been a good father, even if he was a terrible husband. But the kids didn't separate the two. They saw him as a man who disrespected their mother for 20 years, who made a fool of our family, who betrayed the foundation they'd built their lives on. Cherise tried calling. I blocked her number. She came by the house. I didn't answer. She sent letters. I burned them without reading. She had a friend approach me at the grocery store with a message. I walked away mid-sentence. She wanted forgiveness, wanted closure, wanted me to understand her side. I wanted her to disappear, to suffer, to feel even a fraction of what I felt. Some people don't deserve reconciliation. Some betrayals are too deep to bridge. I slept better knowing I'd cut her completely out of my life, like removing a tumor. Painful, but necessary. The space she left behind was cleaner than her presence had ever been. Marcus tried to reconcile, showed up at the house with more flowers, with jewelry. with promises written in cards. I returned everything unopened. He'd wait in his car outside, watch me come and go like a stalker, like someone who couldn't accept that actions have consequences. I got a restraining order, had him served at work. That humiliated him. Ooh, good. I wanted him humiliated. Wanted everyone at the post office to know why his wife left him. Wanted the whispers. Wanted the judgment. He called me cruel, said I was taking it too far. I reminded him of the motel, of the 20 years, of the Thursdays. He went quiet. He always went quiet when confronted with truth. Dion became my constant during all of this. Not romantically, not yet, but he was there. Helped me move furniture when I redecorated, helped me change the locks again, helped me install a new security system. He'd bring dinner on nights when I was too tired to cook. We'd sit on the porch and talk about everything except Marcus and Cherise, about his work, about places he wanted to travel, about books we read, about music and movies and the small joys that keep you going through hard times. He never pushed, never made me feel pressured, just existed in my space peacefully, made me remember what it felt like to be around someone who actually cared, who showed up, who kept their word. The divorce finalized in 8 months. Judge signed the papers on a rainy October morning. I walked out of that courthouse feeling lighter than I had in years. 6 months after the divorce, Dion asked me to dinner. Not lunch, dinner. At a nice restaurant downtown with cloth napkins and candles on the tables. I almost said no, almost told him it was too soon, that people would talk, that his sister had just destroyed my marriage and it looked wrong. But then I thought, why do I care what people think? Why am I protecting Marcus's reputation? Why am I holding myself back from something that might make me happy? So I said yes. Wore a red dress I'd bought years ago but never had occasion to wear. Did my makeup carefully. Felt nervous like a teenager. When Dion picked me up and saw me, his face did something that made my stomach flip. He looked at me like I was precious, like I was worth the effort. Marcus had stopped looking at me like that years ago. Dinner was perfect. We talked about everything and nothing, laughed until my cheeks hurt. The conversation flowed like water. Easy, natural. He told me about his life with Nicole, about how much he loved her, about how guilty he felt for being attracted to me while she was alive. That confession surprised me, made my heart race. He said he'd noticed me years ago, thought I was beautiful and kind and deserved better than Marcus gave me, but he never acted on it because I was married and he was married and lines mattered. Even when Nicole dated and he came back to Atlanta, he kept his distance. Kept things friendly, but watching me go through the divorce, watching me hurt, watching me rebuild, something shifted. He couldn't pretend anymore. I told him I felt it too, that I'd been attracted to him for years but buried it under loyalty and guilt. That even now, sitting across from him in this restaurant, part of me felt like I was doing something wrong. He reached across the table and took my hand, said there was nothing wrong with 2 single adults having dinner, nothing wrong with exploring feelings that had always been there, nothing wrong with choosing happiness after so much pain. His hand was warm, solid, real. I held on tighter. We skipped dessert. He drove me home, walked me to the door like a gentleman. I invited him in. We sat on the couch talking until 2 a.m. about his sister, about Marcus, about whether we could really do this, whether it was too messy, too complicated, whether people would understand or judge us forever. He kissed me that night, soft and careful, like I might break, like I was something valuable that needed protecting. I kissed him back, harder, more desperate, needing to feel wanted again, needing to feel like someone chose me first. We didn't sleep together, not that night, but the kiss changed everything, or drew a line between before and after. We started seeing each other regularly after that, kept it quiet at first, didn't tell anyone, just existed in our own bubble. He'd come over after work. We'd cook dinner together, watch movies, talk until we fell asleep on the couch. It was simple, peaceful. everything my marriage never was. He made me laugh, made me feel young, made me remember who I was before Marcus and Cherise tried to erase me. The kids found out eventually. Aria saw Dion's truck in the driveway early one morning, put two and two together, called me demanding to know if we were together. I told her yes, expected judgment, expected her to say it was too soon or too weird or too complicated because of Cherise, but she surprised me. Said good, said Dion was a good man, said she'd seen how he looked at me and it was the way Dad should have looked at me, said I deserved someone who treated me right. Jaden and Simone felt the same way. They'd known Dion their whole lives, trusted him, respected him. They gave us their blessing without hesitation. That meant everything, made it feel real, made it feel possible, like maybe I could have a second chance at happiness without apologizing for it, without carrying guilt, without letting Marcus and Cherise's betrayal dictate my future. Dion proposed on a Saturday in April. A year after my divorce finalized, we'd driven to Helen, Georgia for the weekend, stayed in a cabin by the river, spent the morning hiking. The afternoon reading on the porch, it was perfect, simple, the kind of peace I've been craving my whole life. That evening, we walked down to the river. The sun was setting, painting everything gold and pink. He stopped at this spot where the water was calm, pulled me close, started talking about how much his life had changed since Nicole died, how lost he'd been, how finding me, really finding me, had saved him in ways I didn't understand, how he wanted to spend the rest of his life making me happy. Then he got down on one knee, pulled out a ring, asked me to marry him. I froze, not because I didn't want to say yes, but because everything hit me at once. The complexity, the messiness, the fact that his sister had destroyed my first marriage, that Marcus still called sometimes drunk, begging for another chance, that people would talk, would say it was too soon, would say it was weird, would judge us for being together when the wounds were still fresh. Dion saw my hesitation, asked what I was thinking. I told him everything, every fear, every doubt, every reason this might be a mistake. He listened, didn't interrupt. When I finished, he said something I'll never forget. I'm not asking you to forget the past. I'm asking you to build a future with me, one where you're chosen, protected, loved the way you deserve. If people talk, let them. If Marcus calls, block him. If it's complicated, we'll work through it. But don't say no because you're scared. Say yes because you're brave. I said yes. Cried while I said it. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me while the river rushed past. It felt right. Felt like closing one chapter and starting another. Felt like justice in a strange way. The woman who betrayed me was his sister, but the man who saved me was her brother. Life had a sense of humor, a dark one, but humor nonetheless. We spent the rest of the weekend planning, talking about where we'd live, whether we'd have a big wedding or something small, how we'd handle family, what we'd do if Cherise tried to show up. Dion said she wouldn't, that he'd made it clear she wasn't welcome in his life anymore, that betraying me meant betraying him. He'd cut her off completely, changed his number, blocked her on everything. She tried to apologize to him countless times. He ignored her, said some things couldn't be forgiven. We drove back to Atlanta on Sunday evening. Told the kids that night. They screamed and hugged us and cried happy tears. Aria said it was about time. Jaden said he was proud of me. Simone said she'd been hoping for this. Their approval meant everything. Made it feel less scandalous, less like I was doing something wrong. We set a date, 6 months out, October. Fall wedding, small guest list, just family and close friends, people who supported me through the divorce, people who understood our story. Dion's family from Virginia was invited. My siblings, our kids and their partners, no one from Marcus's side, no one from Cherise's circle. This wedding would be clean, untainted by people who'd hurt us, a fresh start in every sense. Marcus found out through mutual friends, called me screaming, saying I was spiteful, saying I was doing this to hurt him, saying Dion was just using me to get back at Cherise. I laughed, actually laughed, asked if he really thought the world revolved around him, told him I was marrying Dion because I loved him. because he treated me right, because he saw my worth, not because I was thinking about Marcus at all. That hurt him more than anything else I could have said. The realization that I'd moved on, that he was irrelevant now, that his opinion didn't matter. He tried to threaten me, said he'd make trouble, said he'd tell people things that would ruin my reputation. I told him to do his worst, that I had letters proving what he and Cherise did, that if he wanted to go to war, I had ammunition. He hung up, didn't call again. Our wedding day was perfect. Clear skies, cool breeze. The venue was a garden in Roswell, small and intimate, white flowers everywhere, string lights hanging from trees. Our kids walked me down the aisle, all three of them, one on each side. When I reached Dion, he was crying, happy tears, the kind that make you believe in second chances. The ceremony was short, simple vows we wrote ourselves, promising to choose each other, protect each other, build something real together. When the officiant pronounced us married, everyone cheered aria through petals. Jayden whistled. Simone yelled that it was about time. We kissed while the sun set behind us. It felt like coming home, like everything I'd been through led to this moment, this man, this life. The reception was at the same venue, dinner under the lights, dancing, toasts from the kids that made everyone cry. Dion's best friend from the military talked about how happy he was to see him smile again, how Nicole would have loved this, how she'd always wanted him to find love after she was gone. That made me cry harder, because it was true, because this wasn't about replacing anyone. It was about growing, moving forward, choosing joy after pain. We danced to Luther Vandross, slow and close. He whispered that he loved me. I said it back, meant it with everything in me. This was what love should feel like. Safe. Sure, uncomplicated by lies. Marcus tried to crash the wedding, showed up drunk at the gate. Security stopped him. He yelled my name, said I was making a mistake, said Dion would hurt me too, said everyone cheats eventually. Security escorted him off the property. I didn't even know about it until later. Dion handled it, made sure I wasn't bothered, made sure my day stayed perfect. That's the difference. Between them, Marcus created chaos. Dion created peace. One tore me down, the other built me up. The choice was obvious, had always been obvious. I just needed the betrayal to see it clearly. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing you never knew you needed. Cherise didn't come, didn't try. She'd written a letter weeks before the wedding. Dion showed it to me. She apologized again, said she understood why we didn't want her there, said she hoped I'd be happy, said she destroyed the best friendship she'd ever had and regretted it every day. Said Marcus reached out to her after the divorce, tried to reconnect. She'd blocked him too, realized he was toxic, realized what they did was unforgivable. The letter didn't make me forgive her, but it did give me closure. Proof that karma works, that she lost her brother, her best friend, and even the man she'd betrayed me with. She was alone now, isolated by her own choices. That was punishment enough. I didn't need revenge. Life handled it for me. We honeymooned in Jamaica, 2 weeks of beach and sunshine and peace. No drama, no Marcus, no reminders of the past. Just me and Dion building our future. We talked about everything, about buying a house together, about traveling more, about what legacy we wanted to leave our kids, about how lucky we were to find each other. When we got back, we moved into a new house. Not mine, not his, ours. Fresh paint, new furniture, no ghosts, no memories of Marcus or Nicole or anyone else. Just us starting clean, starting right. It's been 3 years now, 3 years of waking up next to someone who chooses me every single day, someone who doesn't lie, doesn't cheat, doesn't make me question my worth. My kids love him. He loves them. We host Thanksgiving at our place. Everyone comes. It's loud and messy and perfect. Sometimes I think about Marcus and Cherise. Wonder if they're okay, if they're together, if they learned anything. Then I realize I don't actually care. They're part of a story I finished writing, and this life with Dion, this is the sequel, the one where I win.